Wicked, the musical story of the Witches of Oz, had its world premiere at San Francisco's Curran Theater in 2003 and is now back in the city for an open engagement at the Orpheum. It's been a Broadway blockbuster for 5 years running, seen by over 16 million people worldwide. Now back in the Bay Area, we caught up with the show's creator, Stephen Schwartz.
There's no place like home, so it's nice to come home to San Francisco, and I think it'll be fun for people from San Francisco who may have seen the show in its tryout to see how the show turned out, you know, what they helped to create in a way.
Let's talk about a little history here. You wrote the lyrics and the music, but this is a vision that you had to bring it to the musical stage. What's the background behind that?
Well, what happened was that in a very random way, I happened to hear about the book Wicked, which Wicked was originally a novel by a writer named Gregory Maguire. And I was actually on a snorkeling trip with some friends, and one of them, the folk singer Holly Near, who doesn't live too far from here actually, in Redwood City, said, "Oh, I'm reading this really interesting book. It's called Wicked, and it's about the Oz story from the Wicked Witch's point of view." And I sort of had one of those epiphany moments where I just thought, that's the greatest idea for a musical that I've ever heard. And so I tracked down the rights, who had bought the rights to the book, because it had been out for a while, and it turned out to be Universal Pictures, who were planning to make it into a non-musical movie. And after some working my way up the food chain, if you will, I got a meeting with the head of Universal at the time, whose name was Mark Platt, who subsequently became the producer of the show, and I sort of talked him out of doing it as a movie and talked him into doing it as a stage musical.
Now that we're seeing it return to San Francisco, what about this performance resonates with people so much that it's been such a hit on Broadway for 5 years and now is able to be international?
We've all been asking ourselves that question, because obviously those of us who worked on the show believed in it, were passionate about it, thought it had a chance to be successful, but nobody, of course, could reckon on it becoming this sort of worldwide phenomenon. So naturally we're saying, well, how did that happen and why did it happen? And the best theory that I can give you, and it's only a theory, is that on some level all of us sort of identify with that character, the Green Girl. One of our producers, David Stone, is fond of saying, we all have a Green Girl inside of us. And I think the sort of empowerment of that character, and yet it's realistic because everything doesn't end happily for her, but she still comes into her power. Somehow I think that's speaking to people, to the part of people that feels estranged or maybe you know, not able to fit right in.
Never judge a book by its cover.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, music, along with The Wizard of Oz as a theme, is nothing new. Please tell me, and be honest, have you ever linked Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon with The Wizard of Oz, the movie?
I have never done that, though. I hadn't done it originally, but then I saw, someone showed me the video where they ran The Wizard of Oz with Dark Side of the Moon running alongside, you know, as the soundtrack. It's pretty astounding to behold.
No one's done that yet with Wicked in any album yet, other than the music that it exists.
Right, well, I don't think you could quite run the score of Wicked to the movie of The Wizard of Oz, but, you know, I have this sort of weird fantasy that way in the future, once there's a movie version of the musical of Wicked, that you could take that and you could take the original Wizard of Oz and cut them together, sort of like Godfather 1 and 2, and have a whole story.